All right, now for the real video. I got in talking to my sin of the day and coffee and got completely sidetracked from what I was going to talk about. And I was like 3 minutes into that video, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to try to make a video about Pacific Northwest boots. And sure enough, when I go to start talking about it, my nose starts itching with my allergies. But good morning. You know the routine. I like to do really off-the-cuff videos while things are hot and fresh on my mind. I'm sure other people on YouTube can relate. They'll have this topic in mind and they'll think about it and think about it and think about it. And then they'll go to do a video and it's like your heart's just not in it and you're like, it's not worth it. But you know the drill. Waiting to get called in work. Woke up, lounging around. My balls are hanging out and everything. So why I think Pacific Northwest boots are the best boots you can buy. Now, I know that once you get into the Pacific Northwest style boots, there's, some drama, some not necessarily bad blood, but there's some drama with a couple of the brands right now, like Nicks and JK. We can go into JK's shady past, them constantly changing foot sizing, them constantly changing sizing, them changing lasts, the last of the boot, them changing the last, quality control, using lower quality leather, not as good of a temper, not as tight grain leather, so on and so forth. We could go on and on and on. Boots not even being made of the same part of the cow. Boots not even being made from the same cow. They are known to send people two left pairs of boots or two right pairs of boots. Different sizing on accident, not different sizing on purpose, because some people need a boot that is say half a size smaller on one foot or half a width smaller on one foot. And they just it's like they throw random boots in there. And I do have a pair of JK boots, but I really haven't worn them in the past couple months or so. And I'll be making a video on that. There's, when it comes to JK, I have been one of the luckier customers, I guess you would say, even though, I wasn't really thrilled about the boots. I gave a pretty good positive video on it, because in the unboxing and short-term review and stuff, I really have had no issues with the boot itself. Moving forward, and then JK's collaborations with, other people and so on and so forth, taking down negative reviews, hush money, paying, all this other stuff. Then moving on to Nicks. Nicks has cut quality. And now a lot of this stuff I'm late to the game on. I will admit that. A lot of this stuff I'm late to the game on. I held off on getting Pacific Northwest boot brands way longer than I should have, honestly. Way longer. I should have just bit the bullet and not have obsessed over my perfume journey. I should have just bit the bullet and spent the money on good quality workwear that... Jesus Christ. And it's like certain times a day, like if it hits certain points, all these things that send you emails and stuff, or text message things. But I should have just bit the bullet and bought just a good quality pair of work boots. Now, at the time, I was wearing Red Wings. Even I was wearing Danners. Some cheap, no-name works style cowboy boots that I don't even know the name of. Some high test boots. All these other things. And at the time, I really thought that Red Wing was the epitome of a work boot. That we talked, watched videos about the, 875s, the 1907s, and this is talking almost 10 years ago. This is like 10 years ago. I had 1907s. I worked hard in them after school and on the weekends. I worked hard in them. And my first pair of 1907s were a great pair of boots. And then I got a second pair. I was really unimpressed with them. Then I got a pair of Keens, and they were all right. And then I've never actually even bought Thorogoods. I've never even actually had a pair of Thorogoods. And what else? Then got a job. Then I got a job at the railroad, and I bought the Red Wing Dynaforces. I've done 2 or 3 videos on those boots. Even when I bought the boots, I kept telling myself, well, they'll break in. They'll break in. They'll break in. They never really broke in. They never broke in. They wore out. And that is the thing that kind of pushed me away from the typical hardcore work brand boots, the typical work boots, workwear boots, workwear brand boots. Was really those Dynaforces, because in all honesty, in my first pair of 1907s, I had 0 issues. I mean, absolutely 0 issues. And even looking back on it now, it wasn't even that I was an uneducated customer. I think a lot of times that when people are inexperienced and somewhat uneducated in a lot of whatever niche that they fit into, whatever they want, whatever they're interested in, they tend to not know and not have good taste. Good taste / know what they're even really talking about or wearing or doing. But the 1907s, the first pair I got were absolutely amazing. I swear the second pair I got was, I swear, I think they were factory seconds. I swear I think I bought directly from Red Wing, factory seconds. Because I think I went a size wider. I actually think I went, the first pair of 1907s I had were a 9.5D, and I had 0 issues, 0 toe rub, 0 issues whatsoever. And then I actually went to I either went to a 9.5E or a 10D. I can't remember which one, but nonetheless, I had significant toe rub. I mean, it was horrendous. Blisters on my toes, just wearing them out all day long. And believe you me, the boots never truly broke in. Even with a lot of these cheaper, not necessarily cheaper in price wise whatsoever, but cheaper in quality workwear boots, you'll have a small time frame when they feel really good. Some of them, not all of them, some of them. There'll be a time to where they feel really good. With my second pair of Red Wing 1907s, absolutely horrendous. By the time they were broke in, they were literally wore out. They were falling apart. And now, I was wearing these. I was wearing my first pair of 1907s, and then going every other time wearing them. So it lasted about a year. And then I took them back to Red Wing. I was like, hey, I said, by the time that these boots got broke in, I said, transmission, no, it is not slip. Clutch is only a few months old. Okay, well, it shouldn't slip. What was I saying? Anyways, they were broken. They were wore out. I mean, there were cracks, and I mean cracks. My first pair of 1907s actually had a big gash up the side, and had no issues even with the big gash in the boots. And then you get, and then I had to get my second pair. Sorry, my brain got completely sidetracked, and I was thinking about the time that they did get gashed, and then I was working for a guy at the time, and he was like, no, go put on another pair of shoes. Go put on another pair of shoes. I was like, dude, I can't just go put on another pair of shoes. I don't have any with me at the time. Anyways, this big or idiot ordeal. And then they were broken off. There was leather was tearing. I mean, issue after issue, and Red Wing wouldn't warranty them. They said that they had been abused and neglected. And I said, okay. I said, if you want to see you abused and neglected, I'll show you my first pair that look absolutely amazing, patina quite well, no issues at all. But moving forward, this turned into a whole boot journey video. Maybe I'll just make this a boot journey video, and eventually I'll get into the why Pacific Northwest style boots are the best. And then I got a pair of Danners after I got the Dynaforces, and I realized they sucked. Absolutely horrible. The Dynaforces. If anybody's stayed with this video this long, 11 minutes in, do not buy Red Wing Dynaforces. They suck. They absolutely suck. Do not buy them. So many things wrong with the dang boots. I mean, holy Lord, I could go on and on for days about how poor quality, poor design. Here's the thing. A lot of these work boots that are building, that are cutting corners using cheap quality materials, cheap ways of building the boots, so on and so forth. At least the design of some of them are pretty good. I think a lot of them are acknowledging and accepting the fact, okay, we're using a cheaper quality material, so we need to double up on it. You know what I mean? I'm using a cheap quality, I'm using a cheap quality, like with some shirts, like some work brand shirts are actually really cheap quality, so they just double up and make it thicker. I mean, just like twice the thickness to make up for the low quality that it is. So some of the brands are acknowledging that and doing that. I think Ariat is doing it. Keen is doing it. I think even maybe Thorogood is doing it as well, but Red Wing is not. They are on their high horse. They are not going to admit the fact that they're using subpar quality materials and having horrible designs in their boots. And then I got my Danner Queries. Now, my Danner Queries still have a really soft spot in my heart because they're not a bad boot. For $300, I don't feel like, well, they retail for $319 or whatever, or $309. Yeah, you can find them discounted usually all year round, somewhere between $250 and $300. And for $250 to $300, I think they're the best boot you can buy that is mass produced. And even though they're made in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, they're still considered a Pacific Northwest style boot. But I consider them, right along the lines of, the Red Wing style boots, or not Red Wing style, but like Red Wing workwear. But I still think they're better. I think they're better quality. I think they're better designed. I think they're better constructed because the Queries are stitched down. They're stitched down boots. The Red Wings are not. People say that they're stitched. Okay, I think those are false stitchings. I'll be honest with you. After having the Red Wing Dynaforces and having several issues with them, with the complete lack of waterproofing from the sweat issues, even though the boots were not waterproof, they still did not breathe well. Zero arch support, not a good outsole. Then I had to put an insertable insole in it to accommodate for my high arch. Done okay for a couple months, and then just fell apart. Was falling apart inside the boot, and then little pieces of mesh were all inside the boot and stuff. And then I complained to Red Wing, and then they send me another insole, and I was like, I really don't care about it enough to worry. Some good coffee, but then I got the Super Rainforest. I thought, okay, this is going to be the next step. This is going to be the next step in my boot wear journey. I've went from the I went from the Danner Quarries, and I started looking deeper into some of the Pacific Northwest. Like, let me see. And I'm reading about this 610 last from Danner, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to provide me the arch support I need. This is going to be good. It's going to wear in. It's going to conform to my feet. It's going to be a good workwear boot. I'm going to be able to wear these for years. And then I got them. Kind of liked them at first. I do like the look of them still. And I'm like, oh, these suck. They sucked. I mean, the Vibram 100 Montague outsole, hard as a dang rock. I mean, hard as a freaking rock. The Gore-Tex on those seemed to not breathe as well as the ones on the Quarries. The last wasn't what I would consider support. It had less arch support than the Quarries. The Quarries do come with pretty good arch support considering what they are. But the Super Rainforest just have no arch support. I mean, they really don't. I was really let down because coming from the Quarries that had pretty good arch support, and then going to the Super Rainforest that's supposed to be the best end-all be-all from Danner, and then it's actually kind of like, I'd put on like below the Quarries that are $150 less. So that really encouraged me just to say, forget it. I'm biting the bullet. I'm getting into the Pacific Northwest boots. Now, regardless of any way you cut it, when you get into the Pacific Northwest boots, now I know that the Patriots are basically, after being shipped to you, the Patriots are basically $400. So someone like me buying a Pacific Northwest style boot, it's not something I can buy, just going to buy every month. It's something like a once a year type thing, and that's the way I've kind of broke it down in my head, to slow down, to pace myself. It doesn't look like that these brands are going anywhere anytime soon. Franks has no desire to cut cost and cut quality anytime soon, so I don't have to worry about that. And it seems like that in the Pacific Northwest footwear that it's quite level. It's quite level. You know, you have your hipster guys, and then you have your workwear guys, and then you have the guys that need the arch support, and then you have the guys that just have the money to kind of spend and they like the way they look. Versus with the fragrance community, the fragrance community is 100% fear of missing out. It's 100% FOMO. Batch variations, reformulations, repackaging and reformulation, limited edition. They're not reformulated, but they're under a different perfumer now, so they might be reformulated, they might not. 3 year shelf life. How was it stored? It's stored in a non-smoking, no pet house. Then you go to their profile and you see dogs running all around their house. I mean, which I'm not crapping on anybody that has dogs in the house. It's kind of funny to when people lie like that. I smoke, but I smoke outside. I never smoke in the house. Then you have, people buying up bottles, limited edition releases, which there are limited edition releases in the Pacific Northwest world, but usually it's like not as many people are fighting for the same thing. Now, the fragrance community, people are going to be buying up 10 bottles of a limited edition and then take to eBay and then try to sell them. So that's kind of a thing, but the fragrance community is 100% driven by fear of missing out. That's all it is. I can attest to that. I fell into that several times, and so many other people have as well. Like this bottle right here. This is Dior Homme Intense. This is I think like a 2018, 2019 bottle, 150 ml. This is not the original formula, but it is a pre of the most current reformulation, which was hit hard. They were hit very hard, reformulated very heavily. The perfume ingredients changed, the notes changed. So that's a desirable bottle. That's very desirable. I bought it at a time to when they weren't really desirable, but every time I post that, I have someone, private message me, hey, if you want to get rid of that bottle, let me know. I don't want to get rid of it. You see how much I've used. I don't want to get rid of it. Have no desire to get rid of it. Kind of like with this Guerlain. I picked this up for like under $100, and people are like, oh man, I want that bottle. This is, it's good, but it's not that good. You know what I mean? And I could go on and on with different things. But anyways, back to the whole idea of it being level. It's quite level. And then a lot of people, I think, do realize that I don't need a new pair of boots every month, every 6 months, every year. I might just need them every 2 years. Now, I've kind of dialed mine down to every year because that's when I want. I want to buy 2 or 3 pairs right now. And then I want to buy 2 or 3. Then I want to buy maybe, a pair from Westco, a pair from Watts. And then if I could find a good pair of used Nicks, I wouldn't mind to pick up a pair of used Nicks, especially if it's an older Nicks with the McKay/Blake stitch. I wouldn't mind to pick up a pair of those, or even maybe a newer pair if they went extremely on sale, or maybe like some new old stock or something like that. I would not care one bit. But you got to limit yourself, because any way you cut it, going back to what I was saying, any way you cut it, save for the Frank's Patriot, you're going to be spending $600 on a pair of boots every single time. So it's like, that's a car payment, you know what I mean? Anyways, so I just took the plunge, and I got into Pacific Northwest with JK. Really have not had any issues with my JK boots. I'm going to save some details for another video. And then I bought the Frank's Patriots, and that provided the arch support I desperately needed. Now the JKs really didn't do too bad on arch support, honestly. But the Frank's Patriots provided the arch support I was looking for. I was searching for. When I put my feet in my Patriots and now my Type 2 Highlanders, I feel like I'm ready to go to work. I can conquer today because my feet aren't hurting me. I can get the job done because my feet aren't hurting me. My feet are relaxed when I walk. I can get the job done. That's how they feel on my feet. I feel comfortable wearing them. Excuse me whilst I hydrate. I feel comfortable while wearing them. They look good. They feel good on my feet. They breathe well. They're not waterproof, but they are still such tight grain, well tempered, well waxed, and well conditioned from Seidel. And I have conditioned them with Oberhoff's LP. And even once I used like it wasn't a wax. It was one of the Red Wing conditioner. Yeah, it's a Red Wing conditioner thing I had. And I think it does have like some wax in it or something like that. So I used that, and I've had 0 issues from it, honestly. 0 issues. But then I got my Frank's Type 2 Highlanders custom built. And I absolutely love them. I've been wearing the heck out of them. Broken in perfectly. Broken in quite beautifully. Fit my feet perfect. If you watch the comparison video between the Type 2 Highlanders and the Patriots, the dimensions are the same. It is quite scary how exactly the same the dimensions are on the boots. And I thought maybe a couple of the dimensions might be a little bit different. But they're exactly the same. I mean, from length to width to thickness of the insole, midsole, and outsole. The height of the boots, so on and so forth, all the same. So that's up to this point in my journey. pretty soon I'm going to be doing a couple of pretty soon the next boot I'm going to order. I've been going back and forth between doing a custom leather color. Custom is in a one of the limited slash, like a Chrome XL or Latigo, or a different color, like kind of an abstract color, like the blood core. Whether it's from Horween or Wicket and Craig or Seidel, so on and so forth, with the tanneries. But my biggest worry with that is with the work that I do. Even though it's not the harshest work, the harshest things the boots are into, because I'm really not packing them full of mud or anything like that. I just don't want one of my pairs to turn into just, and this is what, if you ever watch Clover Oak, Jeff Mitchell and Mike, they said, people get a lot of these colors, and depending on what conditioner they use, or the elements the boots are exposed to, a lot of them just resort to turning brown or black. So why not just get a brown or a black boot anyway? So with that thought in mind, what I am going to do is build what I think would be the perfect boot for a railroader. I'm in the railroad industry. I'm going to call Franks and talk about what I think would be the perfect boot for a railroader. And then I'm gonna make them. No, I'm not gonna personally make them, but I'm gonna pay for them, and they're gonna make them. Custom, mocked up, the way that I think a railroader would need their boots. And then in the future, I've thought about getting like a Frank's Monkey, or maybe a Rainier from Frank's, or even or even just really kind of just doing the custom boot and then using that as more of a casual boot. I thought about going with a Cavalier Ink and then with the blood core, and then I saw one guy with the blood core. He works construction, and he used Openoff's LP to condition it once, and basically anywhere where the blood core had bled through. Now, I don't know if he properly cleaned the boots before or brushed them off or however he done it, but they basically, everywhere the red in the boot had bled, had come through, the scratches, the scuffs, or the, it's supposed to be red there. They basically turned, the red basically turned to brown. Then, basically over time it would just be a very dark brown or turn black. So I thought, why pay that much? Because you do have to condition your boots sometime in their life. I know some people are going to be like, well, I don't have to condition mine because I don't work mine that hard, so I can get away with 6 months to a year, maybe even longer, depending on how few times you wear it. But eventually you're going to have to condition those boots. So it just is what it is on that part. And the Cavalier Ink, I've heard that, it just kind of, over time, it kind of slowly gets a brown tint to it, and I don't want that with a blue. I want it to stay blue, which is it's a very good looking blue. And then a couple other colors that kind of resort back to that, brown, black, So why not just go ahead and get brown and black? But my thing is, there's probably going to be, I know at least 2 of the Frank's boots that I order are going to be strictly casual boots. They're just going to be casual. They're not going to be work boots. I'm not going to wear them to work. I'm not going to wear them to work when I work outside or to mow the lawn, or any type of construction work that I help with and do on the side. They're going to be strictly casual boots. So it is what it is. Tied you over for 30 minutes trying to do another video that I just completely got sidetracked on. So I hope everyone has a good day. This is my boot journey. Please, if you stuck around this long, Tell me your boot journey. Tell me your boot journey. I want to hear it. I want to know the boot brands you've tried, what you've liked, what you don't like. I will read every single comment. So please tell me what you think in the comments below.